All right, everybody. Welcome. How are you? It is another beautiful Wednesday here in beautiful downtown Redmond. It's 4 o'clock. That means it's time for Starfinder Wednesday. Today we have a treat for you. Yeah, I'm seeing in the chat. I cannot wait for that Signal of Screams. I think there's a Signal of Screams video coming soon, and I can't wait to show that off. It's going to be great. But before we get into all that stuff, Signal of Screams is jumping way too far ahead because right now we need to finish off against the Aeon throne with our guest today, Mr. Jason Keeley. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you for being here, buddy.
My pleasure, always.
So what we're going to do, the plan is we're going to talk about kind of the conclusion of Against the Aeon Throne, which was the trailer that you just saw. And then we're going to, clap. See, everybody's clapping. That's so nice. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a wrap up, and then we're going to jump into Q&A after that. And so just to let you know, it's possible that there might be some spoiler stuff in the Q&A for this part of the show. We're going to try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible.
Yeah.
I guess that's up to Jason and how
I have
deft
all
he
the
is
information
at making that work.
Yeah.
So good luck with that, pal. I think
you.
it's going to go great. But yeah, so in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be getting into that. I just want to remind you that tomorrow we are finishing off Chapter 4 of Doomsday Dawn, the Pathfinder playtest playthrough with GM Mark Seifter. And then we'll get into a Deconstructing Doomsday Dawn for Chapter 4 on Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific. We hope to see you there. If you're watching this on YouTube, hi, welcome. Thanks for joining us on YouTube.
I gotta say, I ran a little bit of Part 4 earlier this week for my own group online.
Did you?
And nearly murdered them all with that sea serpent, which they didn't fight.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
That was something.
Oof.
I think that there's been some fights.
Yeah,
it has been something. Hey, thanks for subbing, buddy. What is that? Oh, Rehab Submarine. We were just talking about your name earlier. Thanks. thanks for the sub. I appreciate that. Okay, let's get into
it.
I've got some artwork here. I've got Jason's ready to start talking about stuff.
I'm ready to talk.
And if you have questions, hang on to those. We will get to those in about 30 minutes, I think. And then beyond that, I hope you're having a good Wednesday. Jason, let's get started.
All right, let's talk about the Rune Drive Gambit.
The Rune Drive Gambit.
Part 3 of Against the Aeon Throne, written by sort of veteran adventure writer Larry Wilhelm. You've seen some of the stuff in Pathfinder, and this is his first Starfinder adventure, and it's pretty cool. Without getting, again, to avoiding the spoilers.
It's going to be difficult, folks.
The name alone sort of evokes this, evokes, not a word, evokes the Rune Drive, it has the Rune Drive in it. And what is the Rune Drive? We can probably say about that much. It's sort of the MacGuffin that the PCs have been chasing the entire adventure path. And they get to basically raid this scientific facility that is run by this corrupt Aslanti noble and take it down, maybe help out the scientists that are there, because the Aslanti Star Empire doesn't necessarily pay overtime. It's more like you're going to work around the clock because that's what we say. You're nothing, you're just an alien, so you don't get rights or whatever. So terrible people. So there might be some beleaguered scientists there for you to rescue and talk to. And there's going to be some, of course, Aeon Guard individuals hunting you down, threatening your every move, and hopefully your characters will be successful by the end of this, because it is to keep this Rune Drive, a very powerful ancient bit of technology, out of the Aslanti Star Empire's hands, because if they get to they figure out how it works and can use it, it's kind of all over for everybody else.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
Because I've got a kind of a gaggle of images.
Yes.
I don't know what is a group of images called. I'm not sure.
Album.
An album.
Like a photo album.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I have an album here that I can go through. I was looking for like a gaggle or a murder or whatever.
Right, a collective noun.
Yeah,
I love collective nouns.
But that's okay. We'll get through that. It's an album of photos, and I just have them in a random order. I'm going to rely on you,
sure,
so that I know which one goes where.
Let's take a look at that battle that
Yeah,
half-pager
let's
battle.
do that. This is
on the
pretty
cover.
amazing looking. I love this image so much. I think it's pretty fun. And it's giant. Like, it is such a massive image.
It's a pretty massive
because
image.
it's a cover.
It is from the cover. You can see it on the background here of the cover behind that fellow. This has got Obadiah and I believe Quig fighting in the lab against some Aeon Guard. And that's going to be a scene that takes place in the adventure probably. Depending on how your players play through it. This is all the covers for Against the Aeon Throne. The cover and the cover image of Zolan Ulivestra, who is the big bad guy.
Right.
Were done by Anna Christensen. For all the Against the Aeon Throne stuff. She's been they've been fantastic. I gotta say. So yeah.
Okay, so we've got a battle.
Yes.
Got a battle that rages because they're trying to get the rune drive.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yes, you want to get it.
Yeah. Again, no spoilers. So they're trying to get the rune drive. There's a battle that's raging because obviously a lot of people understand that this is a pretty cool, important thing.
Yes, it's very important.
What kind of resistance will they meet along the way in that battle?
So they've got to find this secret scientific base on an asteroid. That's sort of the first part of the adventure, figuring out where it is and how to get to it. And once they're there, the Aslanti noble has private security as well as sort of help from the Aeon Guard.
Okay.
So there's a number of and you can actually show Sardat Ulivestra. He is there. We go.
There.
That is the corrupt Aslanti noble who has taken the rune drive, and he is working on it sort of maybe without knowledge of the rest of the Star Empire, just trying to get it to work so he can basically prove himself.
Okay.
And he's done all this stuff, the occupation of Nakandis in the first volume, and he owns the prison moon from Escape from the Prison Moon in part 2. So he is basically the guy who's been orchestrating the whole thing.
Okay. So is it fair to say that this is going to be his comeuppance episode?
Definitely. Yeah.
Because if I know one thing about storytelling, if there's a bad guy in the front and he makes his way all the way to the end,
he doesn't just walk away from it.
He either has to get away in an exciting fashion to continue for a sequel, or he has to get his pay due.
Yeah.
So whatever. Okay.
Again, that'll be up to your players and your GMs. There, what's going to happen? There's some stuff in without spoiling it. There's some stuff at the end of this, which I think will make this guy a pretty good villain.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that is
Sardat Zolan Ulivestra. Sardat is sort of an Aslanti title that basically means count.
Okay, it's like Grand Moff.
Grand Moff, exactly. It's a made-up word that means sort of a title. And his name is Zolan Ulivestra.
Okay.
Because Aslanti names...
I think it's a good name.
It's a good name.
It's kind of a mean name.
Yeah, it does kind of evoke a bad guy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, what is next for us on this journey?
Then I grabbed a whole bunch of stuff from the back of the book, the Alien Archive. Some of these monsters may appear in the adventure, some of them may not. So I thought I'd just sort of throw that out.
Your mileage may vary.
Okay. Without spoiling too much.
Okay.
We can start with the opener.
Yeah, let's do that. This is a gorgeous
great
image too.
Yeah.
I love that one.
That's of course our technomancer Raya, who is being attacked by a carnivorous crystal.
A carnivorous crystal.
Yes, carnivorous crystals are from Pathfinder, and they've made it their way to Starfinder with this volume. They're basically oozes that have some crystals in them, and they can reach out and grab you and turn you into crystallize your own form.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's some good color going on with that one too.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so
kind of almost complementary colors.
Go ahead and also mention that this piece and then all the rest of the pieces we're about to see are from artist Alexander Alexandrov.
Okay, yeah, Alexander Alexandrov. Nice.
And he's done some fun stuff here for all the beasties. So pick one at random. I want to be surprised.
Yeah, you want me to roll the
roll the dice and see which one we got here.
Let's go with that. Look at that robot.
That is, of course, an Aslanti
robot. Yes, of course.
As you can tell, it looks a lot like the Aeon Guard armor we've seen in the past. But this guy just has a big blaster for an arm, and it is an Aslanti battle robot.
And that, so when I was loading the image in, and I saw that, I was like, it reminds me of Laser Blast. Do you remember that movie Laser Blast?
Oh gosh,
from
yes.
the 70s?
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing, folks. I'm an old movie nerd. I love watching all these old movies, and I saw the arm on that robot. There's this old movie called Laser Blast that
If you can watch it with the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version, watch that.
I don't even think you need to. I think it's a
I
great
don't know.
movie.
That movie is rough.
It's
rough. It's tough to get through. Unless you can joke about it yourself. You need some people joking about it. So this is...
Yeah. But anyway, it's out there. It's good.
Laser Blast is, in case you're curious, is about a gentleman who finds an alien gun and just puts it on his hand.
Yeah.
And then goes nuts.
And he's got an amulet.
Oh,
you have to have the amulet.
To control it, yeah.
And the aliens are stop motion claymation aliens. It is awesome.
So good.
I'm a fan.
So
okay, so anyway, the robot and his big robot laser arm.
a little Mega Man, but bad guy.
It's an Islanti robot, and they're mostly like soldiers or guards.
These are specifically battle robots.
Okay,
they are sent out into battle on the front lines, and because they are constructs, the Islanti don't really care. I mean, they're expensive to build, of course, so they care a little bit about if they get damaged, but for the most part, they're just like, go, do it, and they can basically roll over nearly any of the weaker species, I guess.
Yeah.
Those are being crushed by the Islanti Star Empire.
Let's see, how about that one? Is it a
Comanide. Comanide, I forget how we're pronouncing it.
Oh, see, that's why, here's the thing. That's the one thing people can get from watching this.
Is how to pronounce things?
Yeah, like when I first said Sirenscape, people freaked out. They were like, you say it's Sirenscape? I'm like, yeah, that's how you say it. And so I think from then on, there's at least one word that we say where people are like, oh, is that how you say it?
Well, it kind of varies around the office too sometimes on pronunciations.
I think that's very true, yeah.
So this has kind of got a little...
Comanide.
It's got a little bit of... the name is sort of a little bit from Greek, stolen from Greek, so I guess it would be Comanide. Yeah.
Comanide.
This is a, believe it or not, a fae who lives on comets.
Do I have the scale wrong on this thing? I made it very large when I put it in.
It's the size of a human being.
Okay. I thought it was supposed to be bigger than that for some reason.
It does kind of look like it could be like a gigantic beastie. But this fae travels around on comets, loves comets, turn himself into a tiny comet every so often to blast into your
They have
jet.
that ability?
Yeah.
It's like almost like transport at that point.
Yeah, just a quick jet forward and be like, now I'm here. And he doesn't look happy.
It doesn't look not happy though. I mean, it just looks like it's kind of, it looked like you might have angered it a little.
Yeah.
You know. But do they have a happy side? Do they frolic?
I don't think so.
No?
Comets are cold and occasionally icy places. So,
all right, that's fair.
They,
that's fair.
like most fae, they kind of embody the environment in which they exist.
Right. It's nature.
Yeah.
Then not nurture.
Yes, exactly. For them. 100%.
There you go. That's early '80s psychology for you. So boom. Okay. That's the Comanide. Let's say that. Okay. I have this thing that I could not remove the background from without it looking really bad. But this is the twin soul. Twin soul.
It's known as a twin soul. This is an aberration that exists simultaneously. It's got two bodies that exist simultaneously on the material plane and the ethereal plane.
Okay.
So, but it has, even though it's called twin soul, it basically has one soul, sort of. It's basically a weird, globby, just sort of, I don't know how to explain it exactly. It's just kind of got like, just sort of like two bodies, one mind almost.
Yeah, so it's supposed to look like it's kind of caught in a hiccup or something.
Yeah. It's got a bit of haze behind it that is showing the ethereal plane body.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and although it can, like, once you fight it, it can shunt itself back into the ethereal plane, so you can't hurt it anymore. Or you can fight it on the ethereal plane, and it doesn't care for that, and it's getting, or you can kill one half of the body, and it always drives the other half insane.
Yeah.
So it's not quite one mind; it's sort of also two minds, but they're definitely fused together in a spiritual sense.
Okay.
Weird stuff.
It is very weird stuff.
Yeah,
but
weird space stuff.
It's space. It's supposed to be weird. I think that's kind of the beauty of designing for Starfinder is it's like, well, whatever. What do you think you got to do? It's space. Isn't there the physics saying that was it's not that physics is weird. It's that it may not be weird enough. Something
I've
along
never heard
those lines. But that's kind of what I think of with Starfinder. It's like, it's going to be weird, but is it weird enough? Because it's space. Like, who knows what you're finding out there?
That's true. That's true. I always even try to like do a little bit of scientific research on stuff whenever I start talking about like stuff like maybe quantum entanglement or comets, for instance. They're not technically comets until they start getting into an atmosphere and have that tail, right? Until then, they're just basically just sort of rocks flying through space.
Yeah, like an asteroid at that point.
Yeah, something like So it's always fun to learn something new about science.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's super
and then break it because it's also a fantasy game.
It's science fantasy.
Yeah.
So you got to have something in there. It's just.
But people like a little bit of basis. In science.
If like real physics and science were just as fun as a game and you didn't need to add the fantasy part, everybody would be like Neil deGrasse Tyson. It would be so fun to go to school. It's like you grab your D20s and take a test or something. So let's talk about the one thing that I think is really kind of interesting about this is it was a 3-issue arc. And then we have another 3-issue arc coming
That's
up.
right. We were talking about it earlier, the Signal
of Screams.
Yeah.
What was there information to be learned, something to be gained from knowing about how this 3-issue this 3-issue arc has worked?
I'm very curious to see, in terms of sales how well it does, and then in terms of just reception from everyone out there. When you go out and buy it and you play it and you love it and you let us know, we'll be able to do this a little more frequently in the future. Because this is an experiment, because we don't know. Paizo's been doing 6-volume APs forever. And this is just sort of like, we can tell shorter, as I've said, sort of more personal stories. You can get a little more smaller stakes in a lot of ways for the 3 volumes, but that smaller in sort of a global scale, but or I say a galactic scale, but sort of maybe more personal to the PCs. This one, of course, does sort of threaten the balance of power between the Atlantic Star Empire and the Pack World, so there is a bit of grandioseness there. But the Signal of Screams Adventure 1 does have kind of more of a your PCs are the ones who are threatened, more or less, because it is sort of our space horror AP. You want to get. It has to mean something, to them, to be like, oh my God, we have to stop this, whatever's happening, because if we don't, we're going to turn into monsters or die or something like that.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to say give feedback about I like the 3-episode arc, or I like the 6 message boards.
Yeah. Go to our message boards and talk it up everywhere.
Your Twitter handle is right there, I guess.
You can talk to me. I'd love to hear it. I mean, putting it on the message boards to sort of show it to everyone, at the company that we've got some backing for it, so we can point to it and go, look at this. X number of people said 3-volume APs, more of those, please, or more APs that start at higher levels, for instance, because that's what Signal Screams is doing as well. Against the Aeon Throne, of course, started at 1st level, but Signal Screams starts at 7th. So you could play Against the Aeon Throne and then go right into Signal Screams with the same characters if you really wanted to. So we sort of still have a 6-volume AP in a way. It just has it's got 2 themes.
It's like chapter 2.
Chapter 2. Yeah. It's about season 2 of a TV show that has a completely different vibe to it.
It's like American Horror Story.
Almost like a what's the word I'm looking for?
Anthology.
Thank you. An anthology show. Yeah, same characters, different vibe.
Yeah.
Or start over from scratch.
Yeah. And just create a new 7th level character.
Exactly.
And jump in. So, what was your role on the against the Aeon Empire? What were you against the Aeon Throne? What were you doing on this one?
I did the development on all the adventures and some of the stuff in the back. So our creative director Rob McCurry wrote the sort of outline. He came up with the general idea of it, and I worked with him a little bit on that afterwards to sort of polish it up and answer some questions that I had about what was going to happen, because these are some of the first adventures I developed, not including the last 2 Dead Sons. But after that, I was like from scratch, starting it off, getting some great authors, so it made it easy for me, and just sort of making sure that again, it's what we do here for adventure development is doing the connective tissue between the adventures, because the authors don't necessarily talk to one another. They have the outline, they have the information of what's going to be in volumes 1 and 2, but when you're writing volume 3, you don't necessarily know how volume 2 ends exactly. You just sort of have a general idea, and so it's up to me to provide all that connective tissue and decide, while I'm halfway through volume 1, that I didn't like the name Zolan Yulvestra, and I decided to change it, and it was always that, but it's been good. But for instance, if I want to, I gotta make sure that carries forward. that kind of stuff.
I always thought it was weird. We had folks on that have talked about writing, part one or part two of an AP, and they would say things like, "Well, I don't know. I did this, and then I'm not sure what happened after that." And I thought, well, at the time I was like, how does that even work? Like, how do we do that? But then you're the answer. Like,
yes.
You're the one that helps. So if somebody is writing part three, and they have an outline that's given to them.
Yes.
And so you're the one that's there to say, okay, let me catch up on things. Or you look at it and you're like, this actually won't work, and this is why.
Because we're going to do this. Okay. Yes. So I guess to sort of, if we really want to look under the hood.
Let's look under the hood. Let's do it.
So let's talk about, without spoilering it, the rune drive.
Okay.
Part one, you kind of see in where the rune drive was before it got stolen, and then in part three, you actually get to look at it. The Ron Lundin and Larry Wilhelm didn't really talk to one another about what that meant. So I think Ron Lundin pictured it maybe about the size of a microwave oven.
Okay.
Let's say. Whereas I think Larry thought it was the size of a jet engine or larger, or a space shuttle booster, right? So we've got, it's like he drew a map. This is where they're experimenting on the rune drive, and he's drawn it on the map. And we've got it it's a gray looking map, so I didn't want to change it too much. So I just had to come up with a reason why. What's this big machine?
Yeah.
And it's not because I've already at that point had already sent part one to the printer.
So you had to change. You're like, that's different now. That's not what it was supposed to be.
Right. I mean, we didn't. It's something I didn't imagine thinking about just saying to our authors, how big is it?
Right.
So it sort of came off. Everyone had different ideas about it. So I just sort of tweaked. And those are minor tweaks. We always try to keep the intention of the authors. What the skeleton of what they've written at the very least. And sometimes I just need a little bit of not even plastic surgery, just maybe a little makeup or just a little haircut.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Okay, and does that happen both ways? Like if somebody is doing the first one, and they have something that they've written out, you have to look at that and be like, well, we know for a fact X, Y, and Z is going to happen.
Sure. If I know in advance what's happening in part 3 or part 6, if it's a 6-part, right, I can stop it ahead of time. But a lot of times, we are writing these things and developing them as the next ones are being written.
Right.
In a lot of ways, so it's tough to work backwards. Always going to have to push that change forward.
Yeah.
In a cascading manner.
Can that make part 3 kind of, or parts? I mean, this is just after 3 parts. I can only imagine after 6. If you're not careful, that whole thing can just be a weird.
You've got to just pay attention. You got to keep all that in your brain for the 3 or 6 months that you're developing these things for, or longer, and just be like, hey, oh right, we said this.
Oh yeah.
I wrote this. I changed, I changed or something 2 months ago.
Right.
This. Oh yeah. So I have a whiteboard up at my desk too that I write down notes when I notice something like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is this, and this should be referred to as this instead of something else.
Which is why whenever we have a guest into the office, it's like you got to make sure send a note out to everybody just to make sure.
The stuff on my it's not so much. It's just minor adventure spoilers. I feel like those are less tricky to deal with than big names of a new product that we don't have haven't announced yet or something like that.
Yeah. All right then. Well, let's do this. We are coming up on about a half hour.
Okay.
That's going to take us to the end of our first segment, and so we'll get to Q&A with the chat and everything.
Terrific.
After that. So let me do a goodbye, and we'll sign off to the folks at YouTube. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, YouTube.
We're on my camera.
I know, but I'm just shouting.
What we'll do is okay. So pause for edit. What I'll do is I'll say goodbye, and then I'll go to the coverage one, and then we can both wait. How about that? You want to do
Fair
that?
Enough, yeah.
Okay, done.
Sorry.
We'll make that happen. It's going to be good. Okay. Let's go. And boom. Okay. And that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you liked it, please join us every week. I upload videos at least 3 times a week, 4 times a week now to YouTube. To make sure you know what's coming, hit the subscription button and hit the bell notification button, and you'll know what's happening every darn week. If you'd like to be a part of the Q&A, we're going to get started right now on Twitch. Join us on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, where you can join in, watch the live stream, and then be a part of this awesome Q&A that's about to happen. But in the meantime, for Paizo and for our buddy Jason Keeley and for me, your old pal Dan, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.